please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Trading Hour. I'm Prashant Nair. With me is my colleague Ekta Batra. The markets are selling off, and they're selling off now. They were actually holding on pretty nicely. From the initial gap down, the market had pulled up quite a bit. We made a high of about 10,230. And from that point, we are down almost 50 points. 10,177 is where the Nifty is trading at. And that would basically put us within 7 or 8 points of the day's lowest level. But as I said, from the high today, we've already given back about 50 odd points or so. And that would, I guess, make sense given the pain that we've seen in stock markets around the world, starting with US overnight. Remember, European markets will start trading after a extended sort of weekend only today in the afternoon, and they're going to find red all across. Ekta, morning.
Hi, Prashant. Absolutely. Well, we were mostly resilient as compared to what was happening with the global markets, but we've given up that kind of resilience that we had seen in the early morning trade. So if you can just pull up the Asian indices, they'll give you a sense in terms of how we're doing compared to them. So, for example, we all know how tough the session was for the US markets with that intraday fall of around over 700 odd points. But this morning, we have Shanghai, which is down 1%. We have Hang Seng, which is down around 0.7%. So some amount of nervousness, which is creeping in, and eventually maybe some amount of catch up for our markets. If you're talking about stocks, a lot of stocks in focus this morning. We have the likes of State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, which are reacting to that kind of bond reprieve that we got from the Reserve Bank of India. We have HPCL, Lupin, Motherson Sumi, Monet Ispat, all of them which are spiking up or resilient on the back of news pieces. So we will be discussing all that and more in the next 1 hour. But Prashant, you are again looking at some charts in the global space.
Yeah, I mean, so just looking at global markets, and this time just looking at prices and prices now and where they're trading compared to what important levels on some of these indices are. Because I mean, local factors, and I said this yesterday as well, are important. But if global markets start to turn sour, there is a little help which is going to come from local factors, especially in a pre-election year. So take a look at, let's just go index by index. The first one is S&P 500. Yesterday, the close was 2581 on the S&P. The 200-day moving average is about 2589. So yesterday's close was actually below the 200-day moving average. 200-day moving average is like the Lakshman Rekha. So a couple of points below it, one-day close. People don't give that much credence to it, although it is being very, very closely watched. That's the reason we're putting it up. The Feb low is still lower, 2532 or so. The 55-week moving average is also being watched pretty closely at about 2541. So, so basically the next 30, 40 odd points, and I would say there is a fair chance that the market gives one bounce from the 200-day itself, although the close was a couple of points below it. But it's at a crucial juncture. Let's move on to the NASDAQ, which is the other big. I mean, this sell-off can be attributed to the tech sector, the FANG stocks, whatever you want to call it. It's for now holding the 76.4% Fibonacci retracement against, measured from high to the Feb lows. So it's exactly there at about the 76.4% retracement. We don't know if it'll bounce or it cracks. Look at the Nikkei. In dollar terms, it looks like it's forming a double bottom at about the 196 odd levels in dollar terms. Converted into dollars. Again, at an important level, that particular index, if you talk to people who track global charts, has bounced off those levels in the past. We don't know whether history will repeat again. Look at the Shanghai Composite, the Chinese market. If you draw a straight line, essentially from the lows of early 2016, is right there. It's essentially holding that trend line drawn from the lows of early 2016, and important levels are not very far away. 33.13 to about 33.35 is where the 55 and the 200-day moving averages respectively stand at. And you look at the Hang Seng, the last index in Asia, that's also holding the 76.4% Fibonacci retracement from the February lows. The point I'm making is they're all poised for something. One doesn't know what. Either it is a break, or maybe from these levels we see some sort of a bounce, so as to speak. But they are at critical levels. And one way or the other, I mean, it looks like they're going to pick up on momentum either on the way down or the way up, but poised at important levels. Take them.
Okay, but as of now, it seems as though the markets are losing their poise. We are at the low point of the day for the Nifty, down around 0.3%. We, in fact, have Sudarshan Sukhani joining in to discuss the markets right now with us. Sudarshan, over to you then. 10,180 currently for the Nifty. How would you treat it from here on and the kind of steam that the Nifty is losing?
Yeah, good morning again. See, I would assume that we are in some kind of a basing process. The markets are finding a short-term low, and that process is always painful and choppy. So there are these ups and downs, but that's a different issue. I think what we need to do is to look at the trend. The trend is clearly up. So what we want to do now is to go long in the Nifty. At this point of time, we'll take advantage of the minor dip that we are seeing. The Nifty is outperforming world markets anyway. So we go long and stay long in the Nifty. That's the view. That's not for today. You have to carry this position to really get a benefit out of it.
What would you trade in terms of stocks, Sudarshan? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I have a little bullish bias then in stocks also. Mid-cap stocks should outperform today. The Nifty could be choppy as we are already seeing. Biocon is a buying opportunity. Here is a stock that has outperformed. It's also part of the pharma pack, which itself is now suggesting that the bear market is behind it. So Biocon is a buy. Colgate is now bottoming out. FMCG stocks are doing well, and Colgate should play catch-up. That's a buy. And finally, among the NBFCs, I had in the morning suggested Bajaj Finance as well as Bajaj Finserv. Now, at this point in midday, we have Repco Home. Repco Home is a buying opportunity for the day. So primarily, this is a dip, and dips should be used to go long.
Okay, well, we have some Twitter queries for you then, Sudarshan. First one is Ameya, who wants to buy Axis Bank, wants to know if the stock will go down to 480 and if he can buy it at those levels.
Well, I think he's asking a wise question. He should wait patiently. The next few months are going to be choppy for the markets. And at some point, Axis could go between 460 and 480. And that would be a perfect buying opportunity. And he understands there is no rush. Even I would advise that. Just wait patiently. You should get the 480 price in the next few months.
We've got one more question. And this is coming in from what, AR318. 50 shares of Tata Power paid 86 rupees a share. Should I hold or sell? Sudarshan.
You hold. In the next 6 months, you could see 91, 92 in Tata Power, and that would be a reasonable jump from current prices as well as from the cost price. So I would suggest you hold on to it.
Okay, all right, Sudarshan, we're going to let you go on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all of those strategies. We have some more lined up. Gaurav Bitsa of LKP Securities joins in to tell us what he's strategizing from the F&O space. Gaurav, over to you. What is it that you're recommending?
Good morning. My first recommendation would be Celcol and Jubilant Foodworks. We have seen at higher levels there's a good amount of long unwind that is happening around 2380, 2400 mark. And any rise towards 2350 can be a good sell. Have a stop loss of 2380 on the downside. 2300 is what one can see in the next 2 days. Another would be buy on Mahindra futures. It has come out of a consolidation. Decent amount of long position is seen getting built. 760 call option has a little bit high concentration. Once that is taken out, 3-4% swift up move cannot be ruled out, and there is a significant breakout above 790, 800 mark. So it's a very cleverly positioned. One can have a small stops of 755, buy for immediate targets of 785. Final recommendation would be buy on Cadila futures. It has not been doing too much. There is exhaustion in the short side. We are seeing almost on the verge of a good breakout about 390 mark. One can have a stop loss of 388, 389. On the upside, targets of 402 can be seen.
Thanks very much. Appreciate you joining in with those trading ideas. The market is down 38 points. I mean, it's not as if it's selling off at that same pace, but it's off quite a bit from the highs, definitely. We're down 60 points, basically, from the highs that we saw earlier in the day. We take a very quick break. Up next, we essentially will get you what else is happening as far as stocks go, but also turn our attention to the commodity space. Oil saw a big move lower. Manisha Gupta is going to be coming in and she'll be talking with...
Well, Bank Nifty giving up all of its gains on an intraday basis. We're up around 0.1% currently for the Bank Nifty, and the advanced decline ratio, which was in positive terrain, seems to be losing steam now. So currently at around 1,050 stocks advancing to around 921 stocks declining. Let's see how that particular chart progresses. Currently seems like it's probably going to crisscross very soon. Some information coming in from agencies with regards to the NCLT granting liberty to Binani and lenders to settle insolvency. So we'll get you more details on a couple of those statements which are flashing on your screen. But as of now, we have Manisha joining in to tell us what she's strategizing in the commodity and the currency space. So Manisha, over to you. What are you watching? Crude?
Oh, absolutely. With the kind of volatile moves that we have seen onto that one, it definitely does demand attention. While previous quarter, we did see 7.5% gains coming in for this one. Yesterday, as the quarter started, we have lost nearly 3%. It has been under pressure since morning today. You have contradicting fundamentals, really, when you look at this space. On one side, you have Russia, where you have seen the production gain up to 11-month highs for the month of March. And the Saudi Arabia also cutting prices for the Asian consumers for a 5th straight month for the month of May there is what has pulled the prices down. But then on the other side, the weakness in US dollar will support, and so will the US weekly inventory data, which the markets are anticipating bullish for the prices. And that's the reason you are looking at those flat moves coming in on your screens for crude prices. But we've just ended a quarter. We've started another one. The volatility has been very, very high. So what can we expect from commodities, other asset classes in this quarter? To answer all of that, we are now joined by Jody Gunsberg from S&P Global. Jody, hi. Good to have you. I want to start with the gold prices because we have seen nearly 2% gains in the previous quarter for this one. It has started good on this quarter as well. And there has been this thing about gold as a diversifier, especially given the kind of volatile moves we have seen global asset classes.
Gold is slightly year to date, so performance alone isn't that exciting. What is far more interesting is how steady gold has remained around the volatility of the equity markets. Gold has stayed relatively positive while the stock market dropped and did it with just about half the volatility of stocks. The correlation remained very low, which is consistent with history and makes gold a strong diversifier for stocks. That could be more important now than ever if this bull market ends.
Jody, hold that thought. Manisha, just going to toss it back to you in a bit, but just wanted to take note of the news which is flashing at the bottom of the screen. Essentially, the appellate tribunal at the NCLT, the NCLAT, has granted liberty. I mean, it's basically allowed. Liberty, you can confuse it with Liberty House, but essentially NCLT has allowed Binani and lenders to settle insolvency. I mean, this is important, essentially, because Ultratech wanted to get in the fray for Binani, and you know, it was not clear whether they should be allowed to or not. The case had gone to NCLAT, the appellate tribunal, and the appellate tribunal is now saying that it's up to Binani and the lenders to really decide in terms of how to take forward the resolution mechanism. So this will set a precedent as well for future cases like this. I mean, for example, a case goes under the IBC to the NCLT. You know, some sort of an agreement is reached. The H1, the highest bidder, is announced, and then another player comes in and says, "Well, I'm ready to offer a higher bid. I mean, I can do better." Should the new bidder be allowed to come in or not? With this now coming in from the NCLAT, it seems like it's up to the company in question, which is under the sort of IBC process, and the banks to really take a call. I mean, I guess more than the company, for the lenders to decide what they want to do, whether to take the offer which may be higher and better, but may have come in a way, so as to speak, outside the process, the NCLT process, the IBC process, or they want to stick with the offer which they had earlier decided. I mean, so this would be important in that sense. We should maybe try and get a quick reaction to this. You know, maybe lawyers like Behram Vakil and others who've been closely associated with this entire insolvency bankruptcy process, and they've sort of, you know, some of them have helped draft the rules, have been involved with discussions with the government on various aspects of the IBC and NCLT entire process. So this is important. We should actually put up the Ultratech stock and see if there is a reaction which is coming in on that one. And maybe we'll be able to
no reaction
see
right
what is
now,
happening
but I
there.
do understand, and I think
maybe look at Dalmia as well. I think Ultratech is moving up, Ekta, a little bit, just a little bit, right? I mean, 0.6 higher, but you can see that spike, and maybe put up the Dalmia Bharat stock as well, because I mean, you know, Dalmia Bharat was the highest bidder, and that Dalmia Bharat seems to be, I mean, nothing. It's just turning around a little bit. Could be the market, could be the news flow, but it does set a precedent in that sense. Remember, out of the NCLT, I mean, the case has to proceed further. It goes to the Supreme Court. I mean, NCLT, the Appellate Tribunal, and then it essentially
now I think
goes to the
it's
Supreme Court.
It's up to the creditors to make that decision on whether or not they want to accept Ultratech's offer or not. And remember that the lenders, and Nisha is giving us this update, will have to give their decision to the NCLT on the 9th of April. So that would be important to watch out for in any case in terms of who eventually would get that bid. But like you mentioned, there is a little bit of an up move which is taking place for Ultratech Cement. Really negligible at this point. It's a movement of around 0.15%. But we'll get you more incremental details. But this is what is coming in, where the NCLT has granted the liberty to Binani as well as the lenders to settle the insolvency. So the committee of creditors is likely to make that decision by the 9th of April and communicate it to the NCLT court. Any more details?
Nothing else. I mean, actually, the rest, of course, is background information which we can go through. But I mean, the case is pretty well advertised. Ultratech is now making a move higher. So, you know, it's basically up to the lenders and the company in question to settle the matter as they deem fit. But we will get you more on this, maybe from the NCLT. I think we've got a reaction.
Yeah, I think we do have a reaction coming in. Samir Kaji will be joining in very soon to talk to us about this. But yeah, we do have Samir Kaji, senior advisor, joining in to discuss this at Binani. And Samir, hi, thanks very much for joining in. Well, your first thoughts, we would probably expect a decision to come through by the 9th of April, and it would be communicated to the NCLT.
Sorry, come again. I missed you. I wasn't clear. Tell me. Come again, please.
Well, we do have, you know, news coming in that this insolvency process is now in the court of the Committee of Creditors, and
That's
it
right.
will eventually be communicated to the NCLT. Your thoughts initially, and then we'll follow it up with some more questions.
No, as you are aware, we have been following this for the last couple of days. We are aware at the positive development even at NCLT yesterday. So we are now ready with a proposal which we would like to put forward to the COC for discussion and final acceptance.
No, then what does this? What would the NCLAT saying that it's up to Binani and lenders to settle? What would this mean? This means, I mean, you can the lenders.
What they are trying to say, what I understand, because it's too premature, is that the Binani's request is to settle out of court,
right?
To get the proposal outside NCLT. A. B. We are proposing to meet logical and legitimate liabilities for everyone. So that is what is the current status.
Right. Mr. Kaji, but then what is the sanctity of the IBC process? You know, Ultratech lost out to Dalmia Bharat, right? And it was a runner-up. Now you're saying that we can settle out of court with a player of our choosing. Then what is the sanctity of the IBC process? I mean, where would that sit?
The preamble of IBC, as we all know, talks about maximizing value for all stakeholders. So our objective here is maximizing every single stakeholder. As you may also be aware, certain lenders have also gone to court, and that is at NCLT, Calcutta, Exim, State Bank of India, Hong Kong, requesting full payment. There's an haircut there. In our case, what we are talking is we are offering zero haircut. The other process, which I feel is a mortgagee or a debtor, should always be given a right to settle the legitimate dues. So we are ready here to meet all financial claims. So that's what we are trying to say or achieve.
Mr. Kaji, you know, the company was being run by, I mean, and the NCLT, it's being run by the the IRP, right?
It has been run under the RP's management since July 17. That is right.
Right, correct. So, being run by the RP, it went through the entire process of bidding, etc., and came up with Dalmia Bharat as the top, as the highest bidder, right? So
I would like to add something here.
So this is like it's like a separate deal. Then I mean the question will be asked: can Dalmia or some other player now come and offer you more, and you'd be okay with it?
Now let me just retract for a moment. You are saying Dalmia was the chosen bidder, or what the COC wanted to recommend to NCLT. The question which is being discussed independently is that Ultratech's bid was not rightfully considered at the COC meeting. That was the very question also asked yesterday and last week by the NCLT, that why was not the Ultratech bid considered? I'm not speaking on behalf of Ultratech, but just as on an independent basis, they should have considered everyone's bid.
Correct.
So at the 14th March COC, when the final decision was taken, Ultratech, who had put down a proposal, was not considered. So that was Ultratech's objection.
So shouldn't the NCLAT order a fresh round of bidding instead of saying that Binani can settle with Binani and lenders can settle as they deem fit?
You know, end of it, it's their decision what they want to do. We only, when we appealed to NCLT in Calcutta or the appellate in Delhi, we wanted a fair, transparent process. Since this was lingering and it went on for number of weeks or maybe few weeks, and we have the 22nd April or 21st April date looming, we thought it would be best to try and settle with Ultratech, who we thought would be an ideal partner, and they had anyway enhanced the bid, meeting all the liabilities. So this was the background.
If this doesn't go to the Supreme Court now, let's just take work with that assumption. If it doesn't,
okay,
do you have a deal with Ultratech which you can sign on pretty quickly? Yeah.
If you ask me honestly, we can close this transaction. We have already written letters on last Friday or maybe Thursday to all lenders. We are ready to close the entire transaction within 14 days. Maybe earlier, but within 14 days.
Okay. So you're saying you're all set within 14 days. This can be done and dusted.
Yes, done and finished. Whether it is secured financial, unsecured financial, statutory or operational trade, we are ready to meet their legitimate legal claims.
Can you tell us what is the exact offer from Ultratech?
See, the actual numbers, I mean, I can just give you a broad number because we are in discussion also to receive the actual numbers from the COC. What is the legally admitted claim? So we may be off by few percentage.
That's fine, that's fine. But the big ballpark numbers, yes.
Yeah, the big numbers are, I'm talking of roughly 4,000 crores to secured creditors. I am talking of 600 crores to Exim.
Sorry, 4,000 crores for secured, and after that I missed
secured around 600 crores to Exim, which is unsecured financial. Is what it is. The third is operational creditors is roughly 500.
Right.
Then you have IDBI, whose guarantee has yet not been invoked. It's a regular account.
Right.
But we plan to meet that, which is another big number of roughly 1567.
Right.
And we have some statutory dues, which is again couple of 100 crores. So these are broad numbers.
Which totals to, and Ultratech is offering what?
No, this will total to roughly what we have been talking, 72, 73.
And what is Ultratech's offer?
7,300.
They're the same.
Okay, they're basically clearing everything.
Yeah, everything. In fact, there will not be any outstanding. See, on July 25th, certain claims had been lodged. So we are meeting all those claims. There are certain add-on claims. But what I'm trying to say is all accepted claims is what we are paying.
Okay.
We have Ritu Singh joining in with a couple of questions as well. Ritu, go ahead.
Sir, you said Ultratech's offer includes a repayment of 7,266 crore rupees, as we understand. What we understand from the bankers is that if you take all the settlements into consideration, the additional sum required over and above the 7,266 that you're bringing from Ultratech is about 1,020 crore rupees. Could you confirm that for us?
There have been questions which we have been asked, but what we have put a counter question is we need to understand what it is. We have been asking this for the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So we are open to sit down with the bankers or the RP or whoever to understand what their accurate claims are. But this is our totaling, and we are reasonably accurate on that, if you ask me.
Right. So the bankers say for them to settle any, even consider a settlement in this account, they will look at the full sum, which is over 8,000 crore rupees, which is why I'm asking you again, is the additional sum of 1,020 crores,
to be very honest,
which has been discussed with you?
With the 8,000 crores number, I don't agree.
Right, but has that been communicated to you by the bankers that is the amount that they're looking?
It has not been communicated. Only through media we have read this.
They're also taking into consideration the dues that are, for the Binani Cement loan. Since the company went into insolvency and is being run by the RP, there are interest dues also that have been added to this. If you could confirm that.
We have considered reasonable interest from 25th July till date.
And that has gotten due to the 7,200 crore number.
Yes.
Mr.
So
Kaji.
normally, if we had settled within the NCLT, the financial liabilities or the debt would have got frozen on a date. Since we are now requesting to exit the NCLT process or settle out of court is what we are requesting. We have added possible interest costs which would have increased, say, from 1st August till date.
Mr. Kaji, what happens? I mean, Binani is a listed. What happens?
Binani Industry is listed. Binani
Cement is not
listed.
Yeah. And the 7,200 crores will get. I mean, essentially, Ultratech, if that deal goes through, they'd have full control. That's
right. That's right. They will have control of around 98%
of the company.
That's right.
I just want to go back to another question. If Dalmia were to come and say, okay, we're going to offer better than what Ultratech is offering, would you consider that?
If you ask me personally, I will not. It's a commitment to Ultratech. We have decided to go ahead with Ultratech. We are going to go ahead with them.
So even if the offer were to be higher, you're saying you would not...
Even if, you are putting an hypothetical thing which will not happen. But on a hypothetical basis, I personally feel the commitment we have made, we have entered into an agreement, discussions, we go with them.
Right. Do you expect this, I mean, in your capacity, do you expect this to go to the Supreme Court? I mean, the way this is entire...
Maybe there is a possibility, but the last 2-3 days has given me enough confidence that whether it's NCLT or the Appellate Tribunal, they are seeing merits in what we are trying to propose. So there is a chance it may not.
Okay, all right. Ritu, you got more questions?
I think we have Nigel joining in as well.
Yeah.
He had a couple of questions for Binani. Nigel, go ahead.
Well, just one question I wanted to put forth to Mr. Kaji. Sir, Binani Industries, as you said, that's the listed company. Now you're talking about settling all the creditors, everything that is outstanding. Do the equity shareholders stand to gain anything, sir? That is what we want to understand.
To be very honest, we would also want equity shareholders to gain and benefit. So we really need to sit down. We have not really sat down at the COC. We don't have certain numbers. There are gaps what we are requesting. Only once we do that, we will be able to work out the total 100% legitimate dues which we want to pay. So it's a bit premature for me to answer this question today.
Mr. Kaji, because the street has been speculating whether or not the shareholders will get everything. You're very clear that creditors, operational, outstanding, secured, they are going to get all their money. as an equity shareholder, could there be some money returned to them? Could they?
There maybe.
There is a possibility.
There is a possibility for sure, but I will be in a better position to answer this in the next 48 hours when the COC is there.
So let's just take this situation, sir. 7,300 crores is the offer that UltraTech has put on the table. And the total outstanding creditors, you said, if you just add all those numbers up, what's it? Around 6,800, 6,900 crores, 6,600?
No, it'll go to more than 7,000.
More than 7,000 crores. So then, sir, what is remaining? I mean, if the offer is 7,300 crores...
But technically, even you have $1 remaining, is the only company in NCLT today having a equity value with zero haircut. We are meeting everybody in full, whether it's even operational trade creditors, we are paying in full.
Okay, so we'll have to hold you, sir, on that one and wait by whether or not the equity shareholders, they get any money or not. For the time being, I'm sure the creditors will be quite happy. Ekta, back to you.
Okay, all right, Nigel. Well, Mr. Kaji, thank you very much for joining in and taking us through that conversation. So this week is going to be critical for what happens with Binani Industries and the COC meeting. Remember that 9th of April is when we would, where the COC would have to communicate their entire decision to the NCLT. But we need to take a break now. More on the markets, and we're going to have Ashwini Gujral with us to talk about the technicals once we're back. Stay tuned.